Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a wonderful Wednesday and a great week so far. Today we're going to be diving into Cardano. We're going to do a number of different things in this video. Where I'm going to start is with covering the kind of death cross news surrounding Cardano, what this means, what you should expect, what a death cross actually is, why this is or isn't significant, etc, etc, because I've seen this gripping the kind of Twitter space. We've already tweeted about it. If you're not already following me on Twitter, head over to @RealAllInCrypto, because we do post more regular content, and we did kind of, show you a diagram of times where this has taken place before and why perhaps there isn't that much reason to worry. We are, in the second half of this video, going to be diving back into Cardano's blossoming DeFi ecosystem. We spoke about this yesterday in relation to SundaeSwap and their testnet. We showed you a little bit of the features on the testnet. We are going to do a more in-depth guide when it is a mainnet. We're going to show you how to provide liquidity, execute swaps, etc, etc. But what I want to talk about in relation to DeFi is the ERC20 converters that we're seeing pop up. And SingularityNet are one of the people creating an ERC20 converter over to the Cardano network. Bridges are massively underlooked. This is going to allow higher yields within DeFi. This is going to allow more usage, you name it, more traffic, more volume. This is all extremely bullish for the Cardano network. And the reason people are going to use these ERC20 converters are very obvious because of the gas fees. People are going to go where they can get yield. And if they can get yield and a better deal on Cardano, they're going to go with that. It's why we've seen such a migration from Ethereum layer 1 to these layer 2 solutions like Polygon, etc, etc. So we're going to talk about that in the second half of the video. I really just want to dive into this death cross to start though. There's already so much fear in this market. Yesterday we were in extreme fear, now we're in fear. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. We essentially just said for Bitcoin, and the market's largely going to follow, that you're probably going to set up similar structure that you did over here, guys. And you're going to kind of, form some kind of a bottoming out structure before we see that continuation within the bull run. And we are in a bull run. We've covered that and re-emphasized that on every single video. We've not yet invalidated a low and gone to put in a lower low. So there are still a lot of positivity and positive signs within this within the crypto space, but people just want to ignore them and choose to look at the pessimistic outcomes of things. So let's get into this death cross. Well, what is a death cross, first of all? Death crosses are typically, or they are, when the moving average, the 50 moving average on any time frame goes below the 20. Now, of course, the 200 moving average. So when the 50 moving average, which you can see here, what I'm going to do is take off the 20 EMA for you. You can see your red line is your 50, and your 200 moving average is your green line. Now, what a death cross is where, and I can show you previous ones, where your red line, your 50, will cross below your 200. This typically signals a downtrend. This is certainly one key trait to what, certainly if we use Bitcoin as an example, because Cardano only really came out in 2017, or certainly started trading in 2017. It'd been worked on prior. This can be a catalyst for a bear market. But what I want to do, it doesn't always have to be the case. I want to point something out straight off the bat. You can see over here, we actually had a golden cross, which is obviously the opposite of a death cross. And then you had a death cross, and then you very quickly recovered to going and putting a golden cross. And these death crosses, these indicators were really made and developed for the traditional financial world. Crypto being as high a beta as it is, yes, you can have some level of, they do play a role. They're not completely useless, but you have to sort of take them with a pinch of salt, because they were really created for the traditional financial world, not crypto, which is this new, exciting, explosive realm, if you will. So what people are getting scared of is you have what could be a death cross here potentially forming, which is where you see, of course, your 50 go below your 200. This will typically signal downward momentum. Now, I've been here in crypto to see death crosses across the board. Typically with these death crosses, and we've not formed one yet, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to point out a couple of times where we've actually come very close before, and how this is actually, instead of being a bearish sign, being a very bullish sign, and actually signaled the trend reversal, if you will, so from a downtrend to an uptrend. Very common with death crosses is you'll have your death cross after the majority of the downside has already took place. I've seen this time and time again. We're going to show you Bitcoin in relation to this. I will remove the squiggles that I draw all over the chart, and I'll show you death crosses and golden crosses on Bitcoin to show you that, they're not the be all and end all. They can often backfire. For example, we had a death cross over here. that didn't signal a bear market. We've actually gone on to make a higher high after a golden cross. So the golden cross actually worked quite well, but by the time the death cross took place, we had already seen the majority of our move to the downside. Also very true over here. Can you see you have a death cross here, but you actually go on to make a higher high. You have a death cross here. This was, of course, due to 2020 March, but you then go on to make a high. So there are parabolas within these. You know, remember, crypto is very higher beta. We haven't actually formed that death cross yet. It does somewhat look likely, unless we see an uptick for Cardano, which we are expecting an uptick soon. When exactly that will be, nobody can tell you. But when we know what's on the horizon, and we're going to get into that in the second half of the video with DeFi, you can't be anything but bullish. And certainly when we look into this ERC20 converter, the realms of possibility are really going to open up to you. So you are on the precipice on the daily. On the weekly, I don't actually think we've got enough moving. We've got enough data. But on the daily, with the daily moving averages, you can see that you are potentially going to form that death cross. Now, if you look at what happened last time we came right down, it quite literally signaled the breakout. If you look over here, you can see these got very close again. You quite literally signaled the breakout. So could that be happening today? Remember, death crosses can be very short-lived. Typically, you know, you had a death cross down here, but you had already started selling off, and then you very, very quickly snap back. Sometimes markets have to go down to go up. This is something that hasn't got me particularly worried at all. I think it's somewhat irresponsible, certainly of people who are very, you know, they're all about crypto, their whole channel surrounding it, to be kind of trying to fear people out for content. Certainly when the market's in such a, or retail, this is a retail indicator, by the way, guys. We know that whales on chain are still accumulating. When retail is an extreme fear, to kind of be throwing this FUD all around Twitter, it's not FUD, it is an event that's taking place, but to be overemphasizing it, not kind of giving a background to it, to me, it's rather malicious. Especially with Cardano holders, because this has been brutal. We actually didn't expect this. It's always been a possibility. We've always said that we were going to go much higher. We did follow the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory, still do to a degree, and actually believed that, you know, we'd see a parabolic end to this year. That's not going to happen, or it could potentially happen to, you know, later on this month. But I don't think. I think these bull markets are going to take a different form, and I think we're going to see things take a different approach and follow a different blueprint. It'd be too easy for us to just continue to follow the 4-year cycle theory. And we have followed it very accurately. We've been very correct on it to date. But we've done a lot of cycle analysis, and we're going to keep doing that on this channel. So back to Bitcoin, you can see these death crosses. You know, you had a death cross here. You had a death cross here. You had a death cross here. You know, these aren't the be-all and end-all. On these kind of daily time frames, because you can see one reason people get so worried with death crosses is if you look at 2018 and you know what really signaled that bear market, it was a death cross, and you never actually came back up. So this is, of course, is applicable to Cardano. Let's see what happens. To me, this isn't something I'm very worried about. I think Cardano has. I think this time period's been very interesting. I think when you really analyse it and look at what's actually took place, when you really take into account all the FUD that's been thrown Cardano's way, the absolute campaign against it, the fact that we had the hard fork, the fact that, you know, some people were expecting smart contracts before they were really going to be ready. You know, there's been a huge cool-off period that's been amplified by not only the market direction, but the kind of FUD campaign and everything else, and people losing faith in it. So these EMAs don't really take that into account necessarily. And you know, we'll see where we go from here. But this is not the you know, it's not the end for ADA. A death cross, sometimes they actually don't really mean a lot, and the majority of death crosses occur after the majority of the move has already taken place to the downside. And just like previous times where it's looked like we were going to make a death cross in Cardano's history since March 2020, they've actually been a very bullish sign, believe it or not. So we'll keep you up to date with this. We'll certainly cover it in tomorrow's video. The next thing that I want to go into is the AGIX ERC20 converter. Testnet is now live. A public testnet is available for you to try out the migration of AGIX tokens to the Cardano ecosystem. AGIX is Singularity Net. These are one company, if you will, that are working on an ERC20 converter. Many of the DeFi projects that we've covered actually have ERC20 converters that they're going to build into their protocols. This is huge, especially with Ethereum's gas problem right now, and it is a huge problem. It makes me laugh when people say, okay, Ethereum's the settlement layer. It sounds like it's just a huge cop-out. It doesn't need to, and there is an actual argument there for saying that, okay, you have a secure blockchain to settle everything, and then you have these kind of side chains to do the bulk of the transacting, and they can be a lot higher beta and really sacrifice security for scalability, et cetera, et cetera. But with this, and this is interesting, I'll read very quickly what this is to you. Working with the converter enables the migration of AGIX ERC20 based tokens from the source networks to Cardano. Users can access the converter via a URL and move their tokens in just a few clicks. The converter translates an ERC20 token into the native Cardano, into the native token on Cardano with the same value and functions, which can be moved into Daedalus or Yoroi to make payments or other transactions. The built-in conversion system allows the token to be converted back into ERC20. So essentially, you're going to be ERC20s are just tokens built on Ethereum, like BEP20s for Binance, etc., etc. And essentially, this is the first converters of many. I think you're going to see other smart contract networks, smart contract blockchains, be converted over to Cardano, and this is huge. So for something like SundaeSwap, which we covered in yesterday's video, you could open up a pool for CHAINLINK, if you will. You could open up a pool for any ERC20, and an ERC20, like I say, is just an Ethereum token. ERC20s are by far the biggest standard of token. This allows them to port over to the Cardano blockchain to farm liquidity, to farm yield, at a much cheaper and more efficient rate. I don't use Ethereum DeFi other than the only thing that I currently have in the DeFi ecosystem on Ethereum is really on Polygon, not Ethereum, and that's the Aave version on Polygon. I still have a little bit of my assets tied into that, but I'll be converting all that over to Cardano because it's going to be a better, more cheaper blockchain, if you ask me, certainly at the base level. And I think the yield opportunities when this arises are going to be huge. I think if you couple in the fact now that people on Ethereum that are built on top of Ethereum and have tokens on top of Ethereum can now convert them to Cardano and use the DeFi space on Cardano to farm, you're going to not only see liquidity pools opening, anybody can open a liquidity pool on a DEX. That's the whole idea of it being decentralized. As long as the volume's there, you can trade between it. So I could, for example, create a token, a Cardano native token, pair it with Degen or ADA, provide equal liquidity, and people could be able to trade that. Even if the token I created there was nothing behind it, anybody can do that. So you're going to see pools open up on here for ERC20 native tokens that have now converted over to Cardano native assets, and they can be traded within the Cardano ecosystem. So this is huge. This has really been underlooked. Bridges are the future. I think people really underestimate just how powerful bridges are going to be and what they're actually going to bring to the crypto space. This is something I'm extremely excited about. Let's continue to read on. And you can also convert it back. So just once you've converted it to a Cardano native asset, you can actually take it back to an ERC20. So once you've farmed all your yield, you can then convert the other way, basically. So this is really interesting. Users do not need technical expertise, or coding experience to use the converter. They simply access the tool through a URL and then proceed by creating a new account or configuring an existing MetaMask account. So I think you need a MetaMask and a NAMI. I think I've seen it on, and you essentially connect the two wallets and it'll bridge the tokens for you. So this is something I'm extremely excited about. So you could have an Aave token, for example, on Ethereum that you convert to Cardano, and then you could open up a pool, you could farm liquidity on it, etc., etc. This is something, like I say, I'm extremely excited about an ERC20. I'm extremely excited about what we've got coming for Cardano, full stop. And we're going to keep these videos coming daily because I understand, this price action has been anything short of brutal. And people still, it's a weird one for me because I've been here and I've seen some of the most brutal sell-offs that crypto's had to offer. So I have a lot more nerves through times like this. Ultimately I've done my due diligence on the projects I'm invested in. Yes, I do have some moon bags that I'm kind of like, but they were always moon bags that, were speculative plays. Crypto as a whole is really a speculative play, but something like Cardano for me is certainly a project that I believe in. I think what they're trying to achieve will get done, and we are seeing the fruits of that today, ladies and gentlemen. I think in terms of Cardano's partnership, or not partnership, strategic Africa play, that could be, and certainly lead Cardano to be one of the most adopted cryptocurrencies around, and usage is really what's going to drive price, and we're starting to see all these streams lead into the river, if you will. So things look good. The price doesn't look great. I've got to say that. What comes next? We will see. We are going to keep you absolutely up to date. Let's hide the. It's good, very good sign that we actually held this. You're seeing quite a little bit of a squeeze here, so you could, see something like this and a breakout towards the top. I think with this bull market, it's definitely going into next year. And I think, we are still in a bull market. We're just experiencing a bit of chop within that. Remember, we live in very strange and uncertain times. That's going to shine through into markets. Certainly with all the kind of fears of the new variant, etc., etc., people are going to withdraw speculative plays and play more of a safer defensive game. But with that, remember, one of the most bullish events for crypto is March 2020, which seemed like a very horrific event at the time, but really is what led to this kind of a run-up, which actually sort of outperformed last cycle in terms of ROI. That was due to the inflationary pressures of what happened. So hang in there, guys. I hope nobody's getting too shaken out and too worried. If you are, we do have a Discord community with like-minded individuals. The link is in the description. Remember, we do have the stake pool. Despite all the ISPOs going on, initial stake pool offerings, we are growing in delegators. We've minted a block now, I think, for the past, or we're on our 5th block. So we're doing very well. We're at a stage now where we're minting and we're starting to offer a decent APY, a decent ROA. So if you guys want to come and delegate with us, ALLIN is the ticker. Feel free. We'd love to have you. And like I say, feel free to join the Discord. It does help to be in a like-minded community. That is all I really have for you in this video, guys. I'm going to love and leave you on that note. I hope we've covered the DEFCROSS sort of news. It's not the be-all and end-all. Sometimes they just absolutely mean nothing at all. But it is something to certainly pay attention to. And certainly one thing you want to do is look at history and how they previously acted and apply that to the future, and so on. And remember, indicators are more for the traditional financial world, not the one that we're currently in. I'm going to love and leave you on that note, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoyed the video, a like is always appreciated. So is a comment, and I'll catch you all in the next one.